Hey everybody, what is up? It is Thursday. Let me get positioned here. I think I need to be closer this way. That's better. What's going on, y'all? It is Thursday. It's time for the Monster Workshop stream. How we doing? Hey, what's up, Vaughn? What's going on, man? He says, let's make a deal. I watch the stream and you provide me with something you're not even using in return. How about your soul? You won't even miss it. Exactly. It is exactly the right attitude to have today. Welcome to the Thursday Monster Workshop stream. On this stream, which is a companion piece to the podcast that I produce, Monster of the Week, we take one monster from the Monster Manual and we wheel it into the garage and we pop open the hood and we see what we can do to try to make that monster more engaging to run and more fun to fight. But this week, we're not just going to do one monster. No. What do you think? We were some sort of a podunk beginner show? No, we are a veteran monster redesign stream at this point. We're able to tackle multiple monsters per stream. Hey, what's up, M. Grant? Thanks for coming. That's right. This week, we are talking about the flip side to the fiendish coin, the lawful good? Depending on, I guess they would say they're lawful good. The lawful evil to the demons, chaotic evil. Yes, that's right. We're talking about devils, inhabitants of the nine hells. We just started the devils on our podcast last week. And so we're going to be diving into the three least powerful denizens of the nine hells. And we're going to talk about both them individually, but then also the concept of devils in general. And we're going to try to design a sort of unifying power for those devils. But first, let me check in with chat. What's going on, Vaughn and Grant? How y'all doing? Talk to me about your weeks. What's been happening? It has been a while since we've done one of these streams. I was sick last weekend, a pretty gnarly stomach bug, and it just kind of threw me off my whole week. And so I'm just kind of slowly getting back into things now, getting back to producing content and all that stuff, making streams, making videos for y'all. I'm excited to be back. Back at the work table. The way that this stream works is that we're going to go through each one of these monsters. Actually, but we'll probably start with the main power, with the unique power, and then we will go through each monster individually and talk about ways that we could improve them and make them more interesting. Vaughn says you've been world building. That's great. I'm happy to hear it. How's that world building going? I would love to chat with you about it sometime. So, but before we do the big generic power, let's just talk about each monster individually, and then we will get into how to make them more interesting and talk about the kind of four problems I have here. One with devils in general, and then one with each one of the devils listed. So for the Lemure, this is the lowest, the weakest creature in the nine hells, the lowest form of devil. The concept here is that this is basically what happens to your soul when you consign it over to a devil, right? Is that it sort of is transported to the nine hells and becomes this sort of like wailing, poor, unfortunate soul, kind of flesh blob. So the Lemure is a medium fiend, lawful evil. It's got low armor class, 7 AC. It's got 13 hit points. It has 15-foot speed. It's got 10 strength, but 5 dexterity, so very, very, very sort of clumsy and grasping. 11 con, 1 intelligence, so barely, like, not sentient, essentially. It's got 11 wisdom and then 3 charisma. So it's got average strength, con, wisdom, and then it's got just garbage, dex, int, and charisma. Great, it's resistant to cold, it's got immunity to fire and poison, it's immune to charmed, frightened, and poisoned, which kind of makes sense if it's got, low int and low charisma. It has 120-foot dark vision, passive perception 10. It can understand infernal, but it can't speak. Its challenge rating 0, which is interesting, especially for a monster with 13 hit points. You'd think it'd be a little bit tougher than that. It's got Devil's Sight, which means the magical darkness doesn't impede the Lemure's dark vision. And then it's got Hellish Rejuvenation. A Lemure that dies in the nine hells comes back to life with all its hit points in 1d10 days unless it is killed by a good aligned creature with a bless spell cast on that creature, or its remains are sprinkled with holy water. Now, I think that's a cool power. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But I think it's an interesting idea, especially like you have a bless spell cast on you. And then it has 1 attack. It's got a fist attack, which is a melee weapon attack, +3 to hit, reach 5 feet, hits for 1d4 damage. So again, not particularly interesting, not particularly, you know, deep of a monster, but it's not intended to be, and that's fine. Then we have a lot more complicated of a monster. That's the Imp. The Imp is definitely the devil's answer to the Quasit. That is interesting, Vaughn says. Understanding a language and having one int doesn't make sense together. Huh. Interesting. Let me confirm, because I pulled the Lemure and the Imp off of Tetracube, so I'm curious if that is actually how it is statted. I like the idea, though, that they can, like, supernaturally understand, you know, commands from more important demons. Yep, 1 intelligence and understands Infernal but can't speak. Huh. Interesting. That's very weird. I guess I would give them more intelligence then, right? Maybe give them like 3 intelligence. Yeah, I like that. The Imp, though, is definitely the devil's answer to the Quasit. This is a tiny fiend. It's lawful evil. It's sort of like a wizard's apprentice, a wizard's familiar, right? This is a sort of a fiendish little cackling creature that's there to cause mischief. Although mechanically, maybe it doesn't necessarily do that so well. So let's see. It's got armor class 13, 10 hit points, so fewer hit points than the Lemure. It's got 20-foot speed and then a 40-foot fly speed, so it's got wings. It has 6 strength, 17 dex, 13 con, 11 intelligence, 12 int, and 14 charisma. So pretty good stats apart from the strength. It's primarily got good dex and good charisma with sort of like above average con and wisdom as well. It's got a bunch of skills: deception, insight, persuasion, and stealth, which is good if you're thinking of them sort of as being like tempters, right? It's got damage resistances to cold and plus bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical, non-silver weapons. It's got damage immunity, fire, and poison. It's got condition immunity, poisoned. It has 120-foot dark vision and a passive perception of 11. Its languages are common and infernal, and it has CR of 1. It's got Shape Changer, so it can turn into a rat, a raven, or a spider. And its statistics are the same in each form, except for the speed that changes. It's got Devil's Sight, the sort of classic devil ability. Magic resistance. And then it's got a variant familiar. The Imp can serve another creature as a familiar, forming a telepathic bond with its willing master. While the two are bonded, the master can sense what the Imp senses, as long as they're within 1 mile, blah, 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 familiar rules. And then it has 2 actions. It's got Sting, or Bite in beast form. For +5 to hit, it does 1d4 plus 3 piercing damage, and the target must make a DC 11 con save, or take 10 3d6 poison damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful one. It's also got Invisibility. The Imp magically turns invisible until it attacks, or until its concentration ends, as if it was concentrating on a spell. Any equipment the Imp wears or is carrying is invisible with it, and that is the Imp. Von Romero says lemures should act in swarms. I think they're implied to act in swarms, but they're not mechanically expressed that way. Although a lemure swarm would be a cool monster. We might want to talk about that. Great, and then lastly, we have the Spined Devil. This is a sort of what I would consider to be like a proper devil. They are basically sort of like winged, spiked, flying artillery that sort of shoot spines out of their tails. They are small fiend, lawful evil. They've got 12 AC, 22 hit points. They've got a 20-foot speed on the ground, 40-foot fly speed, so basically the same as an Imp. They have 10 strength, 15 dex, 12 con, 11 intelligence, 14 wisdom, and 8 charisma. So kind of an inverse of an Imp in that way. They do have high dex and above average con, but they have more wisdom than they have charisma. They have resistance to cold, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magic and or non-silver weapons. They are immune to fire and poison, and immune to poisoned. And then they have dark vision 120 feet. Their languages are common and infernal, CR2. Devil's Sight. They've got flyby, so they don't provoke opportunity attacks when they fly out of an enemy's range. They have limited spines. Oh, are spine devils medium? Oh, yeah, the lemures are. Lemures, says M. Grant. Great, they have magic resistance, so they have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. And then they have a multi-attack, so they can make an attack with their bite and one with their fork, or 2 with their tail spines. The bite's 2d4, the fork is 1d6. The tail spines, interestingly, are 1d4 piercing plus 1d6 fire, so it's a little bit of both. So yeah, so it's interesting. Those are our 3 devils today. Vaughn says that imps make great scouts and spies. And M. Grant makes the point that lemures are medium-sized. So yeah, definitely they could work like a mob. That's very interesting. I find medium-sized mobs are a little bit more complicated to, or like swarms of larger than tiny creatures are a little bit harder to make. But yeah, we could definitely do it. I have a zombie swarm that I use sometimes. Great. So let's talk about these monsters and their troubles. Now, my big beef with 5th edition in general, and it's something that I've seen other designers kind of grapple with. MCDM handles this or in their monster book, but I think that there's a lack of uniformity in some of their monsters, right? Where it feels like they have these large monster groups. And I like the idea that like you can tell that you're fighting a goblin because it has X power. Something 4th edition did a lot. And I think 5th edition could stand to bring back. I'm also a fan of each monster having its own unique combat ability, right? Something that will come up and make them feel unique to each other. But then also, you know, if they're inside a larger group like this, that they all have a trait or a power that is the same across all of the different monsters of that type. So for the demons, when we did demons a couple of streams ago, we talked about the idea of Abyssal Hunger. Basically, if the conceit with the demon is that they want to destroy, right, other creatures, they want to blow through, they want to destroy and consume and wreak havoc and chaos, that their MO, right, would be to be rewarded when they knock someone unconscious. So we had a power where every time they knock someone out, they get some temps, they get advantage on attack rolls, and then they deal a little bit of extra fire damage. There was also a random chance that they mutated into a more powerful demon. So, and then we called it Abyssal Hunger. So I like the idea of the devil's like unique power, their sort of signature power, being similar, right? But sort of in contrast to the demon's power. So the inspiration for this, as I mentioned on the podcast, comes from an actual play stream that I watched years ago, where someone was playing through Descent into Avernus. And at one point, when they're in the first level and they're in hell, and maybe this is in the adventure, I couldn't find it, but when they are descending through, like they're fighting some devils in hell, and one of the PCs goes unconscious, and suddenly, while they're unconscious, an archfiend appears to them. Aw, oh, darn, Hunter Fox, I'm sorry. No worries, we just started. You're only a couple minutes late. Thanks, man. Lovely to see you. But they are like approached in their sort of unconscious state by an archdevil, and the archdevil offers them a choice. Basically says, hey, I can get you back on your feet, I can get you back to fighting strength if you give me your soul, right? And because the player was interested and you know, bit the hook, they agreed to it, and they gave them their soul, and then in exchange they sort of stood up, fully empowered, full health, I think even all spell slots like ready to go, right? And I really, really like that idea. I assume that was baked into the adventure, but I guess it's not. I couldn't find it in Avernus, but I think that would be a really, really cool thing to say, is that whenever a character like fails a death saving throw within a certain reach of the devil can offer them this bargain, right? Can basically say, hey, listen, if you give me your soul, I can get you back on your feet. You can save your friends, you can get back into the fight, right? And maybe you even include a similar mechanic where to the demon, where there's a chance, like you roll a d20, and on a 20, right, the devil is promoted. And so because rather than being like a demon and mutating, the idea with the devils, right, is that they have this hierarchy, and that if they collect like certain quotas of souls, they bump up to the next level. Right? So the idea that like most of the time, no, it won't really affect the combat. If anything, it'll help the players immensely, because they'll get their ally will be back on their feet, right? But if they happen to roll poorly on the d20, then it causes the devil to basically promote itself up to a higher ranking. So I really like that idea because I think that it encourages this like role playing thing that an unconscious character can do, right? You can role play out the devil like talking to them and offering them this exchange, right? As much or as little as you want to, but then it also feels both reminiscent of the demon's power, but then unique to the devil's. So that's my thought. Obviously, you call it Devil's Bargain, right? And I love the idea of like in the text not explicitly stating the kind of narrative consequences of that like a player can do it once, right? They can give over their soul one time in the campaign, and then maybe they have to go on some quest to get it back. Maybe it means that they are bound to do something for the devil. It is entirely up to you as the dungeon master what the narrative consequences of that are, right? Even if they never come up, right? I love that about because I love that about what it implies, right? That like it's enough to say, "Oh, I sold my soul. Oh, I wonder if that's gonna come up." Like that's plenty, right? Sorry, I'm having a tough time talking today. My brain is not functioning. So that's my proposed suggestion for the devil. Vaughn says, since lemures are basically immortal, who cares if the PCs get up and kill them? Devils are all about the long game. Exactly, Vaughn. That was the thought. It's like I think Chris Perkins made this point about Asmodeus or Asmodeus. Is the idea that like he is just a nice guy. He's just helpful. Like the whole point of the character of Asmodeus is that he only ever wants to help the party. You know, presumably it's like in his interests to do so, but at no point should you, if you're running Asmodeus correctly, you know, have him hurt the party. Thanks, Hunter. I appreciate it. Right, he just helps them. And then you are left to wonder, like, well, I know that he's the Lord of the Nine Hells. Why is he helping me? And that's it. And you just leave it at that, right? That it's like his plans are so far-reaching that you can't see the scope of them, and that it's in his best interest to help you right now, right? It never comes back to bite you in the ass, but it might come back to bite the multiverse in the ass at some point. Which I love that. I think, yeah, very, very long game thinking. Great. So that's my proposed fix for the devil across the board. I think the only one of these I wouldn't give it to is the lemure. I don't think the lemure has the means to do that, right? I think you have to be an imp or higher to get that the devil's bargain power. So let's talk about the lemure. The lemure is definitely meant to be one of those sort of like flavor monsters, like not really a monster that that it's intended to be much of a challenge. And I think that that's fine. I'm not necessarily opposed to that idea, right? You think about like the Crawling Claw is similar. It's a cool monster, but it's a CR0. But I think the Hellish Rejuvenation power is a little bit underwhelming. I'm not saying that they can't have it. I just wonder if it's not actually that mechanically interesting. Like, I like the idea of a good aligned creature with a bless spell cast on it, right? Or if its remains are sprinkled in holy water. I think that's a cool flavor distinction, but I can't see a scenario whereby this ever comes up, you know? So I would probably say my suggestion is to redesign Hellish Rejuvenation and say that, and harken back to first edition. In first edition, lemures just have regular regeneration, right? They just constantly get hit points back unless they take this particular condition. And I think that's actually a lot scarier. Imagine like being thrown into a pit of lemures in the Nine Hells, right? And you take out your blade and you can easily cut through them, but they just regain their hit points again, and they just constantly do it forever, right? That they're a lot more like malleable, right? They're a lot less they're not dangerous to you really. Like 1d4 on a +3 is really not going to do much, but it's their unkillability that makes them scary. So I would redesign Hellish Rejuvenation and just say a lemure that dies in the Nine Hells, like get rid of that and just say that the lemure regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn, maybe 5 hit points, right? Unless it is killed by a good aligned creature with a bless spell. You know, something like that. Like, even if it's at 0 hit points, it still regains 5 hit points regardless, right? Yeah, and Grant, I was thinking it's something similar, but I don't think there's any chance that they don't come back, right? That they always come back every time. Sorry, Vaughn says, devils are about packs. I like the idea of each devil having its own devil's bargain to offer. These lower devils probably don't get many or any souls, but they get PCs used to bargaining with devils. That's interesting. Yeah, I wonder if, because when we did it with the demons, we said something about like each type of demon, like they got more power depending on how powerful of a demon they were when they killed someone. We also had certain demons that had different, mechanics, like the Shadow Demon works differently, and the Varrock had slightly different mechanics on their Abyssal Hunger. So I don't, we should call it Infernal Bargain rather than Devil's Bargain. Yeah, Infernal Bargain, if it's Abyssal Hunger. So yeah, I don't hate that idea. We have to figure out what they are specifically. That's one thing I wanted to do as well for Patreon, is to say to have a sidebar or something, right, with a bunch of potential bargains you could offer. I know, again, Avernus goes into this to some extent, but I don't want to have to get another book to look up ways to make devils interesting. So that's my suggestion for the Lemure, is to give them regeneration. The Imp is the Imp is a really iconic monster, and I think that like they can be cool, but they are just not as interesting as the Quasit. In particular, I don't find them to be very good tempters, which is, I think, what an Imp is supposed to be, right? It's supposed to basically like appear and ostensibly help you, maybe as like a font of knowledge, right, for the Nine Hells, but it's supposed to like try to get you to give up its soul, right? I don't feel like the Imp in 5e really fulfills that. It just sort of, it has Shape Changer, it has Devil's Sight, but there's no indication of how an Imp would go about getting your soul, or what it might be able to tempt you to do. So I would love to find some way to play with that. In previous editions, the Imp had Suggestion, which I think is a lot more interesting and an interesting thing to do, right? To give them that idea, right? That they're kind of like again, suggesting things and wheedling away and kind of chipping at you to see if they can get you to give up your soul. It just feels like a very complicated monster, like narratively, to play. How do you get this Imp to do that? Or how do you get a PC to willingly give up their soul? But one thing that I think would be really interesting is it came up in 2nd edition. They make the point that Imps sometimes were accidentally summoned by spellcasters who were trying to get familiars, right? And they would disguise themselves as a cat or a frog or whatever, right? And then pose as their familiar and try to kind of tempt them into doing stuff. And I actually think that that's awesome. I think that's a really, really cool way to include an Imp in a campaign, is to say, this time when the player summons like every time someone summons a familiar, there's an X% chance, 1% or 5% chance that they instead summon an Imp disguised as their familiar, right? Who then causes chaos and tries to get them to, but then sort of like sows this discord and sort of tries to tempt them into selling their soul, right? And that I think is awesome. So some line about that in the variant familiar thing, like you could definitely willfully bind an Imp as your familiar, but I like the idea that there is a certain % chance that whenever your familiar comes back, that they might actually be an Imp disguised as your familiar, right? Let's see. A couple of chats here, and then we'll talk about the spined devil. If it goes down X times, it respawns as an Imp. Ooh, I don't hate that. Yeah, if it dies a number of times, if it dies 6 times or whatever, it comes back as an Imp in 1d10 days. That's cool. Or along with Vaughn's idea, they get blood, and if they get X amount of blood packs fulfilled, they get to respawn up to an Imp. I like the idea of devils granting powers or use of their powers. Imps know a lot of secrets that can learn them. Ooh, I think that's actually cool, Vaughn. Right? That yeah, maybe it's a thing where if that the Imp grants a power. Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, if you indulge this, then the Imp, if you do it a certain number of times, it corrodes away your soul, right? The Imp offers you this power in exchange for a little piece of your soul. Bargain one secret for another. But yeah, there has to be a stick and a carrot, right? It's like, hey, you can gain this ability if you do this. I think that's actually really cool. that like, yeah, you could definitely do it as secrets and as knowledge. That's a great way to do it. But having a mechanical thing, an exchange of like, I will give you this power in whether it's invisibility or shape changer or whatever, right? In exchange for this. Yeah, I love that. And maybe work that into their Devil's Bargain, that the imp is one of the only creatures that can do that, right? When a creature, the target, when the character isn't unconscious, you know, like standing up from prone, doing all of that, that can definitely be a normal thing across devils. But the imp is the only one that can do it when they're still conscious and can offer other little bits of things, other little bits of power. Vaughn says the devil's in the details. There are so many devil puns that I have ready for this sort of suite of episodes. Demons were a lot harder. There aren't as many demon puns, but there's so many devil ones, right? The devil you know, and the devil's in the details, and the devil's plaything, and go to hell, and raise hell, and to hell with it, and like, yeah, tons, so many. Great, and then lastly, we have the Spined Devil. My big problem with the Spined Devil is that they feel a little bit too similar to the Imp, in terms of like their role. They are described as being like messengers and spies and stuff. And like, yeah, I guess. Like, they're a cool image, and I like the idea of throwing the spines. I might want to mess with that to make them feel a little bit more unique. But they're just kind of samey, you know? They're sort of like flying monsters, which isn't bad, but like, I don't know. So my proposed solution is that in the monster manual, they have a little bit of flavor text of somebody like sending out a bunch of spine devils. And the quote is, "Fly, my pretties, fly." Which I love the idea, yeah, of these like big droves of them and going out and sort of snatching. Like the flying monkeys in Wizard of Oz are sort of kidnappers, right? Like they grab you and carry you away. And the notion of them with these like forks, that's interesting. Like the notion that they are actually like fiendish or like infernal kidnappers, right? That like, yes, they could be artillery, yes, they can be spies. But what their main task is to fly in and like collect you if you have like reneged on a deal. So my thought are two things. A, I want to make the spines a little bit more powerful. There's some cool things in 2nd edition where like they deal damage to you when you take them out, that they deal poison in some cases and fire in other cases, right? But that I like the idea of them using their forks. They have these like 2 tines like bidents, and using those to grab you, right? That like oh, interesting. Vaughn says all these guys have devil sight but no ability to cast darkness. I think more powerful devils might, but that is a very good point. Yeah, devil sight is interesting, but it's like, who cares? Who uses the darkness spell? It's like such a rare occurrence. But basically the idea is with the spine devil that they use their forks to impale you, and then if it's a mechanic I used in harpies that I redesigned, where the conceit is that like if they impale you, like if one harpy gets you, then you are slowed or you know, at disadvantage or whatever. But if 2 of them get you, then they're big enough to carry you away, right? So it's again that flying monkeys thing where one flying monkey isn't enough. They have to like grab one of each one of your arms and carry you off, right? And that's kind of what I'm thinking as far as the Spine Devil redesign. So mainly mechanical, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, cool. That is the concept here. We're going to jump over to TetraCube, and we're going to get started on these redesigns. We'll probably start with Infernal Bargain and go from there, but I am excited to see how we want to redesign these other powers. Great, so this is TetraCube, everybody. It's a website I use to do my monster redesigns. It's a great site. Check it out. I'm not paid to say this. I just think it's cool. Actually, yeah, maybe we'll start with the imps. I think we will actually start with the Spine Devils Infernal Bargain, because I want to do sort of the generic one first, and then we will go and because the Lemure doesn't have it, and the imps one I think is kind of special. So let's go here into Infernal Bargain. Yeah, if I were devil with devil sight, I would use magical darkness all the time. I'm almost certain that a higher level devil has it, and if they don't, then we will give it to them. Infernal Bargain. Whenever a creature if we do a good aligned creature, whenever a creature within 30 feet of the devil fails a death saving throw, the devil can offer the creature a bargain. In exchange for its soul, the creature or if the creature surrenders its soul to the devil, if the creature surrenders its soul to the devil, makes a saving throw. If the creature surrenders its soul to the devil, it immediately regains or gains all the benefits of a long rest. A creature makes a death saving throw. It can if a creature surrenders its soul to the devil, it immediately gains all the benefits of a long rest. A creature can only make this bargain once. I kind of think that's it. I mean, that seems like deceptively simple. Oh, right, yeah. I like the flavor spine devils being tasked with collecting or punishing those who break. Yeah, exactly. If a creature surrenders its soul to the devil, it immediately gains all benefits of a long rest. In addition, the creature accepts the deal. In addition, roll 1d20. On a 20, the spined devil. Okay, so let's look here. The spined devil. What's the next type? The spined devil is immediately transforms into, what is it, a bearded devil? Immediately transforms into a bearded devil. Into a bearded devil. Is promoted and transforms into a bearded devil. A creature can only make this bargain once. That's an ability. There you go. Infernal Bargain. Easy. That wasn't so hard, y'all. Okay, cool. That's Infernal Bargain. Let's just do the Spined Devil really quick, actually. I'm gonna get rid of limited spines. I think it's boring. Who cares about long rests on fiends? Who cares? Okay, so I want to give them the fork thing, right? So 1d6 piercing damage, and the target is grabbed. Creature grabbed by only one spined devil can still move at half speed. A creature grabbed by two spined devils, two or more spined devils, is restrained. Yeah, okay, that's the fork. And then let's change the tail spines. So here's my thinking, that it's 1d6 plus 1d4 plus 2 piercing damage, plus 1d6 poison damage. Yeah, I'm not gonna keep track of them. You know, that's my main problem. M. Grant says, when I ran them, I did unlimited spines. I don't have the wherewithal to keep track of that, so I'm not gonna do it. So the tail spines, we're gonna say so here's my conceit, is that it's like in a previous version, they dealt fire damage when you pulled them out. which I actually think is kind of great. So the notion is that they will shoot these spines at you. You get hit with one, right? And then while it's in you, it deals poison damage. And then when you remove it is when it deals fire damage, right? 1d4 plus 2 piercing damage. In addition, the creature takes 6 1d poison damage at the start of each of its turns. And the creature is impaled. An impaled creature. Ooh, that's interesting. Vaughn says, do you prefer poison damage or the poison condition? Poison foes are easier to drag off. That's true. Piercing damage and the creature is poison, and the target must make a... Yeah, and the target must make a... What I want is I want like them to be... Yeah, and the target is poisoned. Until they spend a bonus action to remove the spine. A creature that removes the tail spine takes 3 1d6 fire damage. Do they spend an action to remove all spines from their body? All spines. To remove the condition, a creature that removes a tail spine. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, you're right, Vaughn. You're right. I got there. It's just a low C. It's just a low CR monster. Because you're also getting punished because you're gonna take the damage, right? Yeah, there you go. Spine Devil. Might make that 2 columns. It's getting long enough. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Okay, whenever a creature within 30 feet of the devil makes a death saving throw, the devil can offer the creature a bargain. If the creature surrenders its soul to the devil, it immediately gains all the benefits of a long rest. In addition, roll 1d20. On a 20, the spine devil is promoted and transforms into a bearded devil. A creature can only make this bargain once. The devil has advantage on saving throws. Okay, the fork. Plus 2 to hit. That's so bad. That's terrible. Is it based on strength? That's so silly. One target hit 1d6 piercing damage and the target is grabbed. A creature grabbed by only 1 spine devil can still move at half speed. A creature grabbed by 2 or more spine devils is restrained. Tail spine. Hit 1d4 plus 2 piercing damage and the target is poisoned until they spend an action to remove the condition. A creature that removes a tail spine takes 3 1d6 fire damage. Yeah, love that. Okay, cool. That's the spine devil. Saving it real quick. And save stat block. Cool. All right, let's jump over to the Lemure. And let's do this. Let's redesign this Hellish Rejuvenation. Devil's Sight, Hellish Rejuvenation. Lemure that dies in the 9 hells comes back to life with all its hit points in 1d10 days, unless it's killed by a good aligned creature with a blessed spell. So, let's talk about how the Troll's regeneration works, because that's kind of what I want to base it on. They just keep getting back up. Yeah, they get knocked down, but then, surprise, surprise, they get back up again. You're never gonna keep them down. Okay. The troll regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn. If the troll takes acid or fire damage, this trait doesn't function at the start of the troll's next turn. The troll dies only if it starts its turn with 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. Okay. So, let's see. Why did I just close that? I'm an idiot. I need to look at that. So I think we're gonna say it's 5 hit points rather than 10. I think that's too much for a creature that's ostensibly... Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, there you go. Vaughn says, I don't think you need bite on a spine devil now that they have infinite ammo. Yeah. Makes 2 attacks. So let's go in here. Makes 2 attacks with its fork, or 2 with its. Makes 2 attacks with its fork, or 2 with its tail spines. Good thinking, my man. Get out of here. Great. Yeah, the bite, unnecessary. And it makes the stat block a little shorter. I love that. Okay. So the troll. T for troll. All right. The lemure. The lemure regains. Oh, we want to improve their intelligence as well, right? Vaughn, I actually agree with you. I think I'm going to shrink them to small size. I think I'm going to do it. And we're going to make their intelligence 3. 3. The lemure regains 5 hit points at the start of its turn. If the lemure took damage from a creature with a bless spell cast on it. Let's go bless spell cast on it. This trait doesn't function at the start of the lemure's next turn. The lemure dies. Lemure dies only if it starts its turn with 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. Yeah. I think that's fine. That is an ability. Kill this. And then I don't think we give them Devil's Bargain because I don't think they're smart enough to extend it, right? Even with 3 intelligence, I don't think that they can do that. Yeah. Cool. Lemure. Done. Simple. Okay, the imp. So this is the complicated one. I'm going to lose the familiar bit here just because I think it makes the stat block too long. That can be a sidebar. I'm fine with shape changer, double side magic resistance, all that. But the trick with you is that your Infernal Bargain works differently. As a bonus action, the imp can offer 1 creature. Oh, did it say good aligned? Oh, I didn't see that. I'm sorry. I didn't even see that. Radiant damage, I think, is too easy to come by. I like that it's tricky. That feels like a legal loophole to me, right? That they're supposed to be unkillable. That's the point, right? I think I think radiant damage makes it too easy. Let's give me the alignment requirement. I think I didn't do it intentionally, Vaughn, but I think it's better without it. Yeah. Okay. As a bonus action, the imp can offer 1 creature it can see within 30 feet a bargain. In exchange for a portion of the creature's soul, it can choose one of the following benefits. It can choose to gain Okay, so here's I like this idea. What if we said that the imp can offer basically any of its 3 abilities? What if it's like flight, shape changer, and invisibility? Right? Yeah. shape changer. It can choose to gain one of the following benefits for 1 hour. That's interesting. Impish Bargain. For 1 hour. Shape changer, invisibility, or flight. The target gains a 40-foot fly speed. As a reaction. Bonus action is fine. 40-foot fly speed. The target can polymorph into a rat, a raven, or a spider. The target turns invisible until it attacks. If the creature can polymorph, the creature turns invisible until it attacks. If the creature accepts this bargain 6 times, the imp captures its soul. Roll 1d20. Oh, interesting. I was just gonna say that, like, it's little portions of the soul. Perhaps mechanically you can say accepting the offer puts the cursed condition on you. If you die with this condition, you are condemned. But if you accept it, like, I like that it's small. Like, you might do it a couple of times, right? Yeah. The creature polymorphs into a rat, a raven, or a spider. Yeah, I like the portions of the soul. That it's like a, hey, you know, you're not using the whole thing. Just give me, you know, just give me a little bit. Roll 1d20 on a, yeah, exactly, Hunter. And that, like, you know, are they keeping track of exactly how many times they've done it? You know what I mean? The imp. How do we phrase it here? The imp is promoted to a spined devil. Or roll a d6. Ooh, that's actually not bad. Yeah. When the creature... But I like... Then that's just random. It's easier to keep track of. Vaughn says, roll a d6 and on a 6 you lost your soul. It's easier to keep track of that way. I like the... Yeah, I think you're right, Vaughn. I think it's a good idea. It's a good mechanic, but I think that the notion of, like, putting on little down payments, you know, that the imp is like chipping away at your soul rather than taking it all at once. Yeah, I think that's better. The creature gains a 40-foot fly speed. The creature polymorphs. Let's keep the little bullet points. I kind of think that's cleaner. Oops, shoot. The imp is promoted and transforms into a spined devil. Okay, I kind of think that's it, everybody. I know there was a really short one, but that's a pretty... They proved much easier than I thought. Add ability. Okay, so Impish Bargain would go in between those two. Oh, oops. For some reason that didn't work. Exactly. I'll keep track of how many times they've done it themselves, you know, which encourages them to keep notes. Okay. Yeah, I mean, is that it? I think that's it. I mean, these are relatively simple monsters, right? We didn't do too much. Hey, thank you, Hunter Fox. That's very kind of you. M. Grant says, I also like the idea that if you've spent bits of your soul up until now, and you take the Infernal Bargain, maybe you stand up, but depending on how much you spend. Yeah, that's interesting. Off into a beast form. Resembles a rat. Devil's Sight. Okay, let me read through these. So the Lemure has regeneration. It regains 5 hit points at the start of its turn. If the Lemure took damage from a creature with a blessed spell cast on it, this trait doesn't function at the start of the Lemure's next turn. This Lemure dies only if it starts its turn with 0 hit points and doesn't regenerate. As a bonus action, the imp can offer one creature it can see within 30 feet a bargain. In exchange for a portion of the creature's soul, it can choose to gain one of the following benefits for 1 hour. The creature gains a 40-foot fly speed, the creature polymorphs into a rat, a raven, or a spider, the creature turns invisible until it attacks. If the creature accepts this bargain 6 times, the imp captures its soul. Roll 1d20 on a d20 on a 20. No, roll 1d20 on a 20. The imp is promoted. Demons don't, no. They do not cast Bless. That is an ability. Okay. There you go. Oh, gosh. It's typos. Roll a 1d20. There we go. Now add ability. Okay. Great. And then the Spine Devil has... when a creature within 30 feet of the devil makes a death saving throw, the devil can offer the creature a bargain. If the creature surrenders its soul to the devil, it immediately gains all the benefits of a long rest. In addition, roll 1d20. On a 20, the Spine Devil is promoted and transforms into a bearded devil. The creature can only make this bargain once. The devil has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Yeah, great. Fork. 1d3 piercing damage, and the target is grabbed. A creature grabbed by only one Spine Devil can still move at half speed. A creature grabbed by 2 or more Spine Devils is restrained. It's got the tail spines. The target is poisoned until they spend an action to remove the condition. A creature that removes the tail spine takes 3 1d6 fire damage. Yeah, great. I think that's the stream, everybody. I'm sorry it was a short one, but we blazed through those devils. Presumably next time we do devils, it'll be a little longer because there'll be more devils to do and they'll be more complicated. But thank you, everyone, for coming out and tuning in. It was nice to just do a quick little stream here together. Thanks to Vaughn and M. Grant and Hunter for coming out and making your suggestions and helping me out. I think a lot of it really changed the way that they worked. It was M. Grant who helped suggest the idea for the rejuvenation on the Lemure. It was Hunter who encouraged me to keep the pieces of the soul, but it was Vaughn's idea to do the imp like offering powers, which I think was a huge part of that design that made that a lot more interesting. Because the Quaza that we did also has like a tempt power, but it works very differently. So it's cool to see like how those two different ones are distinct. Great. Once again, thanks for coming out, everybody. We'll be back. I think not on Tuesday. I don't think because I've got a boy, I can't talk. I've got a summer camps are next week, but I might be back on Saturday with a Sea of Thieves stream. We'll see how it goes. But that reminds me, I gotta take a highlight from last week. I forgot. Sweet. But until then, if you like this stream, please consider subscribing to the channel, clicking the bell to get notified whenever new videos and streams go live. Like the video if you haven't already. That'd be a huge help. You can find me on Twitter and Patreon and Discord. All the links are below in the description. I really appreciate you all coming out and hanging out with me today. And hopefully we'll talk to you soon, either on Twitter or Discord, or the next time that we stream. Check out this upcoming week's episode of the podcast. It'll be on Displacer Beasts. But speaking of which, I have to go edit that episode right now. So thanks for watching. And until next time, as always, happy adventuring.